Hi guys, welcome along to the next tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to be using Scratch 3 to build a basic platform game. Now some of you might have seen this game before, but I don't think we actually got to finish it. But what I've done is I've created a cool backdrop using some 2D sprites from a site that I'll have linked in the description below, so you guys can mess around. If you have a program to edit images and stuff like that, you'll be able to customize your own background for this. But essentially what the aim of this little game is we have this dude here, Giga. We have to get him to get to the ladder, up the ladder, along here, up this ladder, and to the blue light here. But what we're going to set up is we're going to have a series of balls, basketball, tennis ball, beach ball, stuff like that, falling from the sky, and they're going to be rolling along down here, and if we hit them, it's going to set us back to the starting position here. Just as always, any project files that we have here, and again any links like the links to the 2D sprites and stuff, I'll have them in the video description below. So the first thing we're going to do is when you open up the project, you will have Giga walking here, and if we just click in our costumes, you'll see there's 3 little costumes within Giga. So we'll get the animation of him walking. So we're just going to set up now the initial controls now to make him move. So going over to our code section, we're going to start off with events, and as always we're going to drag in when green flag is clicked into the center area. Then we're going to set up a forever loop. So we go into the control section, forever loop, and then we're going to bring in an if then loop. So after that, go into sensing, and we are going to bring in key space pressed. So we're going to set up what happens when he goes right at the moment. So we're going to click the little white arrow after space, and we're going to select right arrow. Now, we want Giga to be pointing in the right direction, which is going to be to the right, in the direction he's walking. We're also going to set the speed, and then we're also going to get him to cycle through the costume so it actually looks as if he's walking. So we do this by going up to the motion section, and we're going to bring in a first block is point in direction 90. So that sets up the direction he's going to go. The next thing then is we're going to bring in move 10 steps. Now that's going to be too fast, so for the moment just follow along and do the same as me, but then you guys can customize it then when we're finished. So move 3 steps is what we're going to do now, and just in case, I just simply left clicked there and pressed 3 on the keyboard. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to change the costume. So we're going to our looks section here, and we're going to select next costume. So let's just test it out now. So if we press the green flag and then we press the right, there we go. That's cool. So we have a little problem now, is we can only move right. Now you can actually, while the game's moving, you can click them back and drag them. So the next thing we need to do is, we're just going to stop our game. It's always handier to stop your game while you're adding code. Otherwise it just could glitch. We need to set up now to make them go left. So we just do the exact same. What we can actually do is we're going to right click just after the if here, and I'm going to select duplicate, and I'm going to drag this loop underneath our other one. So you see they've locked in together. Now make sure you don't put it under next costume. It has to be outside the if loop but still inside the forever loop. Now we are going to change the right arrow to left arrow, and we are going to point in direction. Now see the way here I have the cool kind of compass. I'm going to move this to minus 90. We'll do a little extra thing where when I click on Giga here, we have the direction option here. So he can only turn left to right. We don't want him to turn upside down, because if we left that, we didn't do anything, he would actually, when he gets to the edge, he'll turn upside down. We don't want that. So let's see now if this will work. So right and left. There we go. Cool. So that's very straightforward. Now, so the next thing we need to do is we need to set up what happens to make them climb up the ladders here. So as you can see, I've set these ladders up. They're actually a solid color. So what we're going to do is we're going to, inside our forever loop, we're going to go back into the control section, and we're going to add in a new if-then loop and make sure it's at the very end, but still within inside the forever loop. We need to set up this kind of gets a bit complicated here, where we need to have two conditions that are met before we can climb. So we have to be pressing the up arrow, and we also have to be touching this orange color. So we can do that by using the operators, which is kind of like the math section. So we're going to check if both of these items are the same, and we can do that using the AND block. So I'll drag that into the if then, and we have these two gaps here now we're going to fill. So in the first one, we're going to go into sensing, and we're going to bring in key space pressed, and we're going to change that to up arrow. And then in this one, we're going to sense for the color. So the second block here, touching color. Now you'll notice by default, it may be a different color on your screen, but we can change this color. We can actually pick this exact color here. So what we do is we left click, just one single click on the color. We get this cool new box up here. This is one of the cool things in Scratch 3. And we can click on this little color picker here, down the bottom of that box. And when we click that, it highlights our game window, but it gives us a little magnifying glass. So all I do is I hover over until I find the orange of the ladder. Left click, and there we go. We have set the touching color. So this box, this loop now, the if loop, is only going to run if we're pressing the up arrow and we're touching the orange. We're going to change the y-axis so Giga can go up. So we can do that, go into motion, and we're going to find the block, change y by 10. And we're going to set that to 4. So let's just test that out now. So we're going to walk along, Now, notice nothing's happening, but if I was to press the up arrow, there we go. And we can walk along, and let's see now if we can test this one. There we go. That's pretty cool, so that's working. So the next thing we're going to do, you'll notice now at the end of our level, we have this little siren here. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up that if Giga touches the siren or the light here, it's going to stop the game. So all we have to do is we're just going to, inside our forever loop, as you can see, this is getting very, very big, but that's okay. We're going to go into our control section, and we're just going to bring in another if, then loop. And this time, we're going to be touching color. Now, just like before here with picking the color for the ladder, we're going to do the exact same, and we're going to use click on the color, and then we're going to use our color picker, and we're going to highlight the edge of our light or our siren up here, and you'll see it's picked out. And then what we're going to do is just a simple go into our control section and stop all. So let's test that out now. So walk along, and yep, there we go. So now our platform game works, but we have a little problem, is that Giga can't jump. So, because we're going to have to be able to jump over balls that are going to be coming down from the top here. So the next thing we need to do is we need to set up a variable. So we're going to click into the section here, variables, and the box here, it says make a variable. So we're going to call it gravity. And we're going to set it for all sprites. So again, a variable, we use that in coding to store data like numbers or text and stuff like that. In this case, we're going to get it to store the numbers that are linked with gravity and jumping. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new code block now for Giga. So we're going to go up to the events section and bring in when green flag is clicked. So I can place this separately. We're not joining it to this block. We're finished with that one for the moment. Then we're going to go into our variables, and we're going to set gravity to 0. Drag the block in. Now, this is where we're going to change 0 to -4. And then we're going to set up a little forever loop. So we go into our control, bring in the forever loop, and then we're going to change y by gravity. So we bring in change y by 10, go back into our variables, and the little round gravity block, I'm going to drag that in on top of the 10. So if we were to lift Giga up and we ran the game, Giga's going to fall. Now, I haven't set up the platform for him to walk along for the moment, but you can see gravity is working. So that's kind of cool. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to set up the platforms so Giga won't fall through when we run the game. So we do that. Inside this forever loop here, we're going to add an if loop. So go into our control. Now, when I drag this in, it kind of goes grey around the change y by gravity, and we can let go of it, and there we have. Now, we only want the gravity to work when we're not on the ground, which is the black line, or if we're not on the ladder here. Everywhere else, we want to be able to have gravity working, so we want to be able to fall. So what we'll do is we're going to go into operators, and we're going to bring in this block, the not shape, or the not block, sorry. And in the space here is we're going to stay in our operators, and we're going to bring in the or block. So what we're going to do is gravity is going to work if we're not touching the black ground or the orange color for the ladders. So if we are touching, this loop won't work. Okay, so we just go into sensing, touching color, and we bring two of these touching colors in like so. The first one, we do our color picker and we bring it up to click on the black. And the second one, again, color picker, and this time we pick out the orange of the ladder. So let's try that out now. So if we were to pick up Giga and drop him, there we go, he stops. Brilliant. And he stops in the ladder too, but he falls everywhere else. Great. So let's see now if we can fall. So we'll climb up here, and we'll just get him to walk to the end, and we get up here and fall. Oh, yeah, boom, and he stops. Perfect. That's great. So the next thing we need to do is set up the ability for Giga to jump. So we are going to do this by going into events. I'm going to use a new block now. It is when the space key is pressed. Now, you can change this to whatever key you want, but for the moment, I'm just going to use the space key. Now, we have to set how high we want Giga to jump. So we'll go into our variables, and we need to create a new variable called jump height. So jump height. So we need to set now how high Giga could jump. So we're going to bring in our first block here, which actually says set gravity, but we now have this little drop down arrow, and we're going to change that to jump height, and we're going to change 0 to 8. Now, we are going to set up a little loop, which is basically going to have gravity run until we're back at our 0. So, sounds a bit complicated, but I'll show you now. So if we go into our control section, and we're going to bring in the repeat until loop. And then we're going to go into our operators, and we're going to bring in the equals. So at the moment, it's the first space is blank, and the second space says 50. That's fine. We are going to bring in jump height. So we're going to our variables, jump height in the first one. And in the second one, we're just going to leave it at 0. So this loop is going to keep repeating until basically Giga's going to jump up a certain height, and the loop, he'll keep falling until jump height is 0, which is where he left the ground. So we can do that by going into our motion, and we're going to change y by 10, and we're going to change the 10 to jump height, like so. And then, so we've set up how high he's going to go, and then we need to set how fast or how slow he's going to fall. So we can bring in change gravity, and again we're going to change gravity to jump height, and we're going to set that to minus 0.5. Okay, so let's see how that works now. So if I press space, brilliant. So he's kind of working. Oh, we can't actually go down yet on the ladder. We'll have to fix that. Okay. Now, to see the way we have these two boxes here, one for gravity, one for jump height, we don't need them, so we can actually get rid of them. In our variable section, we have these check boxes. If I untick them, there we go. Our boxes have disappeared. So now with Giga jumping, the next thing we're going to set up is the different balls now that are going to be falling down from the top of our game window, rolling down along each of the levels. So we're going to start off by, we're going to add a new sprite. So down here below our game window, I'm going to click on the little, or just hover over the little cat face, and we're going to choose a sprite. Now the ones that really work best with this are the baseball, the basketball, and the beach ball. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to use the basketball. And I'm going to set the size, there's our basketball here. I'm going to set it to 70, just a little bit smaller. And we're just going to place it on the bottom level here, and we're just going to see if Giga can jump over it. So, go along. Yep. Oh, now we have a little double jump here with Giga. So it's kind of like the Super Mario thing. Now, if you want, you can leave it in, but if not, the way you can do, or the way you would fix this, is you only let Giga jump if they are touching the black level here, the ground. So we can do that by clicking back onto Giga and going onto our, when space key is pressed, and we go into our control section, and we're going to bring in an if loop. And we're going to drag it around all our code here. And we are just going to set up touching color. We're going to make sure we have the same color now as our ground. So we'll hover up, there we go. So that should stop. Yeah, that's now stopped our double jump, which is great. So Giga is just making it over that. So we're just going to try increase the jump height. Now I think it was 8. I might have edited it there by accident to 10. We're just going to put 11. So we'll see here. See what this does now. Yeah, that's a bit better, because we're going to see if we can vary the size of the balls coming down as well. So we have our ball sprite set up. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to click onto our ball sprite, and we're going to use cloning in this now. So we're going to have one instance of the ball, and we're going to clone it multiple times. And then when the ball gets to the end, it's going to roll down. When it gets down to the end here, it'll delete itself. So let's get started. So go into events, and we bring in when green flag is clicked. And then whenever we're working with clones, we always have to hide the original sprite. So we go into our look section, and we're going to hide it. And then we set up a forever loop. And this is now to control how often we want a clone to be generated. So staying in our control section, we bring in wait 1 second, and we're going to change that to 3 seconds. And then we will bring in, scroll down a little bit in our control section, create clone of myself. Now you want to keep it myself, because that means the sprite we're working with, in this case, it's the basketball. So if we were to run our code now, nothing's going to happen except our basketball will disappear. So we need now to tell the game what happens when a clone is created. We are going to go into our control section, and when I start as a clone is the block we want. And we're going to create a new block. As you'll see, we have the rounded top here, so we can't join it to anything else. And then we need to set the starting position. So we want our ball to kind of start up around here and fall, and then it's going to roll along, fall, roll along, fall, and roll along, and it'll be deleted down here. So the first thing we're going to do is go up to motion, and we're going to set the position. So we bring in the block, go to X and Y, and we're going to have the X as 160 and the Y as 160. Then we're going to show our clone. So we've created it. It's going to create every 3 seconds. And then when the clone is created, it's going to start at this position of X160 and Y160, and then we're going to show it. So then we need to set up a loop to let the basketball fall. So we want it to fall down and stop at our first level here. So we can do that by going into our control section, and a repeat 10 loop is what we need. Now, I've kind of worked this out already, so just follow along. So I want to change the 10 to 22. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the y-axis by -4. So I'm going to change that to -4. And what should happen when I press the green flag, and we should wait 3 seconds. There we go. Now this ball has gone too far. And you're going to see they're going to keep falling. So we want the ball to stop just on top of the line here. So let's see if we change that to 7. Let's see, we just want the ball to sit on top. Perfect. So there you can see now the ball is sitting just on top of the line. That's great. And it's going to keep falling. So now the next thing, we want the ball to roll to the left. And then we want it to get to a certain point here, just after the ladder, and it's going to fall. So we can do this by bringing in another repeat 10 loop. Now, we're going to change this. We're going to try this again, a different number, 170. And this time now, we're going to be going to the left. So we're going to change the x-axis by -2. So change x by 10 there. And we change the 10 to -2. Because we're going backwards, x is always minus. If we're going forward, it would be 2. So now we also want, if we were to run this, our ball will fall, but it'll just be static. It'll just move along. But that doesn't look good because the ball is just, let's see how far. And actually, that's perfect for where we want it to fall. But we need to get a bit of rotation into it. We want to make the ball animated a bit. So we can do that by simply bringing in turn 15 degrees, and we're going to change that to 6 degrees. So now let's run it. And we wait for it. There we go. Oh, now that's cool. See the way now the ball is rolling. Perfect. The next thing we need to do is set up our loop for the ball to fall down to this level and go along here. We're going to just have another repeat repeat 10. And we're going to change this to 30. And I'm going to change y by -4. So I can actually, instead of going up and finding the block, I can right click and duplicate an individual block and bring it down. So let's see what happens now. Is our ball going to fall down here? Yep. Oh, almost. So we needed to go an extra. For every loop, you see, it changes y by -4. So let's see if we do set this to 32. So I should speed it up. Let's see now. So the ball's going to fall. Okay, 31 might suit it a bit better. Let's see. Okay, I can't see it at the moment now because there's too many. So let's try 31 again. Perfect. So the next thing we're going to do, now our ball has moved along, it's dropped here. So now we need to get it to roll along the middle level to the very end, just after the ladder. It's going to fall, hit the ground here, and it's going to roll all the way to where Giga starts. So we're going to just copy this one here. So if we go duplicate, and we want to change. So this time now the ball is going to be going to the right. It's going to be going this way. So we want x to be 2. And we want to change the rotation to rotating to the right. And change that to 6 degrees. So let's see now how this will work. And then we've also the fall here. So we see if this all works now. Perfect. Okay, so we're rolling this way. So now we should, okay, so we need to go a bit longer. So we're going to try, let's see, 175. And one of these should start rolling. Nope, we need to go a bit further. We'll try 190 and jump ahead a bit. Okay, now another tiny bit. So 195. Let's see now. We can see the balls are moving closer and closer to the edge. We want it to go after. Oh, nearly there. So we're going to go 198, and let's see how that is. So we need the ball to clear the ladder like it does here. So perfect. There we go. You can see now the balls are clearing the ladder here. So now the last thing we need to do is we need to have the balls rolling this way, and then the clone of the ball will be deleted. So we are just going to, instead of copying, I'm going to just do it out. So we're going to repeat again, and we'll set up 180 for the loop, and we're going to copy these two fellas. So because we're going to the left, X is -2, and we're rotating to the left as well. So let's just see how far we get. So the ball's coming down. Okay, so we could fall a little bit more. So let's see now, repeat 5. Let's see now. So it's rolling down, it's clearing the ladder. So basically we want to clear the ladder so we can hide on it when we're playing the game. Okay, now you notice, so we need to fall a little bit further. So we're going to change this repeat 31 to maybe repeat 35. Now that might be too much. Yeah, that's too much. So we'll go 33. Let's see. Perfect. And what we'll do then, so once we have our ball rolling, we want it the clones to be deleted just before where Giga starts. So we can do that. We go into our control section, the very last block, delete this clone, and you plug that in at the very bottom outside your last repeat loop. So it looks kind of big and complicated, but basically every time in a loop, so if we're repeating this loop 7 times, every loop it's going to change y by -4. So that's where we get the falling. This loop, we're changing x by -2, and we're essentially doing it 170 times. So we're rolling to the end, and then we're falling, rolling to the end, falling and rolling. And when we get to this point, we're going to delete. Let's just see now if we can play the game. And we'll see how far Giga can get. So, okay, so we can jump over, that's great. That's perfect, and when we get to the end, it'll stop. Great. Okay. Now, one thing I did notice when I was playing there, Giga can't actually, when we restart the game, we need to set Giga to fall at this point here. So what we can do, I've actually moved Giga here. Scratch will actually pick our location and set it up in the block that we need. So we go into motion, and you see the block go to X and Y. And we drag them just under our very first when green flag is clicked. And you'll see every time we start the game, Giga kind of falls a little bit, which is perfect. That's what we want. So the next thing we need to do, I've just noticed, Giga can go up the ladder, but he can't go down the ladder. So we can do that by going to our first block that we have here with the right arrow and the left arrow, and we have our up arrow. If we right click just after the if and go duplicate, I'm going to drag that just in underneath. We're going to change up arrow to down arrow, and we'll change Y to -4. Now, when we run, so Giga's bouncing along, we should be able to go up and down. Perfect. So I like to be able to go up and down so we can hide. Oh, perfect, like that. Now, as you notice, Giga can run through the balls, and that's not good. So what we want to set up is that if Giga touches a ball, that he goes back to the starting position. So what we're going to do is we're going to go onto our basketball, and we're going to add a new code block. So I like to scroll down to the very bottom, and we are going to bring in when I start as a clone again. Sorry, that's in the control section. And then a forever loop. Now, we want an if and then loop. So now if the ball touches Giga, we're going to broadcast a message. So this is used now. I'm going to get into that. Just let me build this first. So if sensing, touching. Now, we have touching mouse pointer. We click the little arrow here, and it gives us a list of, like, we've edge, but we've also any other sprites. So if we added more sprites here, we'd have the option here. But we want Giga walking. And now we're going to go to events, and we're going to use this broadcast message 1. Now this is used in gaming everywhere. So basically, if something happens, a message is broadcasted, and then that message triggers something else to happen. So we are going to go new message, and I'm going to call it hit. So the ball is going to, when it hits Giga, we're going to send Giga back to the start. So we do that. If we go click back on Giga, scroll down to the bottom of our code, and then we're going to bring in when I receive, and you'll see it's already set up with our message here, when I receive hit, and it's in our event section, we want Giga to point in direction 90, and we're going to bring the starting point is, if I scroll back up to the top, oops, that should be linked up there, minus 209, minus 105. So minus 209, oops, and minus 105. So let's just test that out now. So we should walk along, go up the ladder, and we're just going to walk into a ball now and see what happens. Perfect. There we go. So every time now. There we go. So that's working. That's pretty cool. But let's change it up a little bit. One ball might be a bit boring, one style of ball. So let's add in a few more. And how do we do this when we have a clone? So what we do, we'll add costumes. So if we click onto the basketball, and then we go over to our costume tab here, and you'll see the section here for our costumes. And down here, a little cat face that says choose a costume. I'm going to choose, now I'm going to go into the sports section, and I'm going to pick a baseball. I'm going to choose another, and I'll go sport. I'm going to choose beach ball. So let's see now, back to our code, run the game. So now we have the beach ball, but we want it random. So what we can do is on our basketball code, just after create clone of myself, we're going to go into the look section, and we're going to get it to change to the next costume. So let's see now. So we have the beach ball, and next basketball. That's cool. See the way they're kind of different sizes as well. Oh gosh. So that's it. That's our game. So what I want you guys to try and do is see if you can vary the timing of the balls falling, and you can do that with the pick random 1 to 10. So instead of waiting 3 seconds, try random times. Other things you could try and do is add in a life. So you create a new variable, and like when the game starts, you'd have 5 lives, and every time you hit a ball, you lose a life. And then when you get to 0, the game is over. So try out these kind of things. And yeah, can't wait to see what you come up with. And we'll see you in the next tutorial.